Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a red velvet cake. I have never had a slice of red velvet cake. I've tasted red velvet cake flavored things before, but I've never actually had a slice of bright red cake. So with Valentine's Day fast approaching, I thought this might be an appropriate time to make a red tinted cake. Red velvet cake was a chocolate cake and it had a red tinge to it from the cocoa powder. Especially if you use natural cocoa powder, it's supposed to have like a red tinge. Well, that tinge developed into a bright screaming red color with the use of food coloring. There is a lot of food coloring, so I'm excited to try that as well because I've never used this much red food coloring before. If my 1980s 1970s mom saw this cake, she probably would not let me have it because I was not allowed to have anything that had red food dye. That was of the time, and this recipe contains an entire bottle. So interesting, right? Can't wait to see what the batter looks like. I'm also very interested in testing out something I saw where you can take a round cake and transform it into a heart with a couple simple cuts. So we're going to be testing that one out too. So enough chit chat, let's go ahead and get started. The recipe I'm going to be adapting today comes from Divas Can Cook, and I will put a link to the original recipe down below. By the way, I found this recipe from the Pancake Princess. I'll put a link down below to their website, and I love it because they test lots of recipes for one thing. So it might be chocolate chip cookie recipe test, and there'll be 9 different recipes all baked on the same day, and lots of people taste and give their opinions, and then recipes are ranked. So super cool idea, love it, and I've learned about so many wonderful recipes from that blog, so be sure to check it out. Pre-measured, this is just all-purpose flour, cocoa powder, salt, baking soda, baking powder, and whisk that around. It would be interesting to make a red velvet cake without the red. Would it just be velvet cake then? In a larger bowl, our sugar, oil. That's going to be the fat in this recipe. So we don't have to cream any butter or deal with any shortening like that, just oil. We're going to take our mixer and just combine that together. Now we're going to add our eggs. Add these one at a time. Buttermilk. This will react with the baking powder and soda and leaven our cake. Plus, give it some nice richness. So traditionally, buttermilk is what is left over after you've churned butter. That liquid is called buttermilk. These days, I think it's mostly just cultured milk. 2 bloops of vanilla, along with 1 or 2 ounces of red food coloring. 1 bottle is 1 ounce, and that's plenty of food coloring for me. So I'm gonna go with that. You could also use paste food coloring if you like. But I've always wanted to try this, and somehow pouring an entire bottle of red food coloring just seems like you're breaking the rules somehow. I love that. Here we go. 1 bottle into, wow. I've learned from my days of making homemade Play-Doh with my kids, if you get food coloring stains on your hands, try using a bit of toothpaste and rubbing it into the stain, and then wash your hands as per normal, and it should come out. It's a really wonderful thing because we played with a lot of food coloring. Now we're going to add some coffee and some white vinegar. That too will react with the baking soda and baking powder to make our cakes rise. And now we're going to add our dry. My mixer is very overpowered on the low settings, so I'm opting to use my whisk so I don't fling this red batter everywhere. So here are my baking pans lined with parchment. I just use some scraps around the sides. You can eyeball this, but I'm gonna go ahead and use a measuring cup to kind of get an estimate so that my 2 layers will be pretty equal. Wow, it's so red. It's amazing. Now we're going to pop these into a preheated 325-degree oven and bake them for 30 to 40 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out with a few wet crumbs. We don't want to overbake this. We want to make sure our cake is moist. And then we're going to let them cool on a rack until the pans are warm before we remove the parchment and invert them and allow them to cool on a rack completely before we frost them. That's super important. You don't want the frosting to ooze and melt all over the place. Alrighty, my lovelies, we will be back once these have been baked up and we're ready to frost things. Okay, see you in a little bit. And now it is time to make the cream cheese frosting. Now this is the classic pairing with the red velvet cake. So we've got a lot of cream cheese. These packets of cream cheese have been sitting out at room temperature and we've got 4 of them, along with a lot of butter. This has also been sitting at room temperature. We're gonna add some vanilla to this. Bloop. Ooh, that's a big one. Bloop. All right, here we go. Whoa. It's level 1, I tell ya. Oh. Time for some powdered sugar. Wow, this should be interesting. So that's 1. If I didn't think it was going to fly everywhere before, it's really going to fly now. Okay. Oh. Well, guess we have to taste it. Wow, that's really nice. Really supple, smooth, buttery, rich. Sweet, but not overly so. Tangy, delicious. So now we're gonna do this little make a circle into a heart hack trick. Lightly score half and then a quarter. 4 quadrants, right? So we're gonna go from this point to this point. That will be part of the heart cheek. It will make more sense in a moment. Here to here, I'm going to cut this as well. And this will be the bottom of the heart. That's going to be the pointy part. And these are going to be the top cheeky parts. And since I want these to match, I'm going to use this one as the template so that it lines up, and do the same for this cake. Place our parchment all the way around, which we will remove once we are finished decorating. Try to center it if we can. Then these little pieces will go on the outside like this. See how it makes a heart? How cute! And glue that to this part right there. I'm getting crumbs in my frosting, which I don't love, but I'm not a professional, right? I am making this recipe for the very first time, and I am not a professional cake decorator. In fact, I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't go to baking school. I'm just like all y'all. I'm gonna cut a little divot here so this looks a little bit more defined in terms of being a heart. Right? Yes. Sweet. A nice generous layer of the cream cheese frosting. We're gonna add our second layer. All right, little cracking, that's okay. We can just push it and settle that right in. So now we're gonna coat this with a thin layer of frosting. This will be our crumb coat. That means this will stick all those crumbs down, and then when we put our final coat on, it won't be polluted with all these little red flecks. That's the plan, at least. That's the plan. So we're gonna get the sides, cover all the cake, and then I'm going to chill it. And in the refrigerator, the butter will set up and give us a nice smooth surface so that when we do our final frosting, none of those crumbs or anything will move. I've decided I'm not going to layer this whole thing again with another layer of frosting. What I'm going to do instead is I've got a piping bag fitted with a 1M tip, very simple tip, and I'm just going to pipe little rose flower things all over it and cover it all up. And I'm just going to do a little swirly over the entire cake. And we'll just pray that I have enough frosting to cover the entire cake. Now that I'm doing it, I'm not sure that I will. And if we don't, then we'll figure something else out. I like the little farting sounds it makes. I remember in elementary school, I took a cupcake decorating class. It was so great. I wasn't very good at it, but I was so excited. This piping tip is very forgiving. You don't need to have any skill whatsoever. You just swirl a circle. So my goal now is just to try to distribute frosting all over the cake, and then we're just gonna have to smooth this out, I think, because I don't have enough. And then smooth out the sides. Oh my goodness, lovelies, this cake. All right, I think it's all right. So I just smeared the sides sort of with an old-fashioned kind of swoopy thing and left the roses on the top, rosettes, whatever you want to call them. And now we're going to remove the paper around the perimeter. Enough of this overrated perfection. Here is my heart-shaped cake of red velvet, and let's give it a taste. That's a big slice. Guess I'm hungry. Wow, that's beautiful. Many hours later, we have a homemade red velvet cake. I think if you were to make this, skip the whole heart shape thing. It makes it a lot harder. Just keep it round and frost it, and you'll save yourself some heartache. But what is Valentine's Day without a little heartache, right? Look at that. One bottle of red food coloring, in my opinion, is plenty enough for this cake. Itadakimasu. Wow. That is one delectable cake. Oh my goodness. The cake crumb is so moist. This is a very moist, luscious cake. It's not the least bit dry. It has a delicate kind of texture. It has a very subtle chocolate flavor, but mostly what I taste is that delicious frosting. The tang of the cream cheese and the buttery richness of the frosting, I think, is really what highlights this entire cake, along with that really beautiful, soft, delicate, yet moist crumb texture of the cake. Fan-stinkin-tastic. The cake itself tastes rich, vanilled with a just tinge of chocolate flavor, but it reminds me a bit of pound cake in terms of its kind of tight crumb, but it's not dense at all. It's still fluffy, but incredibly moist. This is probably one of the moistest cakes I've ever had. And this frosting, so stinking good. It's not overly sweet. A lot of buttercream frostings for me are just tooth-achingly sweet, but this one is not. The cream cheese gives it a really nice thick body, nice frosting-like texture, but that inherent tanginess of the cream cheese goes so well with the 4 cups of sugar we added to it. Delectable. Make this cake for someone you love. If you just want to make something sweet, just want to be romantic, just skip all the frou-frou. Just make the cake. It's delicious and will bring a smile, I think, to anyone's face. Alrighty, my ladies. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. Like this video. Subscribe. And I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Take care. Bye. Another bite, please. Mmm.